I built this robotic camera slider using some cheap 3D printed parts to help make my videos a bit more interesting. I used it for most of the moving shots in the last video, and whilst it was pretty good, there were still a few things I wanted to improve before I finally made a video about it. This was supposed to be a quick and easy project to get me started again this year, but the upgrades ended up spiraling so far out of control that it's taken 2 more months to finally get it finished. Before I get started showing you the upgrades though, I have to tear down the old version. This camera slider was never actually meant to be a project video, so the first version I built as quickly as possible because I wanted to use it for the MacroPad video. Because of this, I chose parts based on what I already had and what was available soonest, rather than what I thought would be best. These pulleys are a good example of that. This 20 to 60 tooth reduction set was available locally on Amazon for next day delivery, so it seemed like a no-brainer for the rotation axis of my camera slider. It probably would have been fine with a lighter camera or even with bigger motors, but the camera, lens and frame combo I usually shoot with comes in at about 1.4 kilos, which proved to be a bit too much for this gear ratio. So this is the first thing that has to change. I picked up some 80 tooth pulleys from AliExpress to go from a 3:1 to a 4:1 reduction, which will at least give the little NEMA 17 motor a fighting chance. Since I'm also going to add a tilt axis in the upgrades, I'll need to make some changes to how the rotation stage actually works. I originally had a pair of 608 bearings on either side of the pulley, one in a 3D printed PETG cover and one in the laser cut 6mm acrylic base plate. This worked pretty well, but I was already having problems with the camera ball head unscrewing during fast panning moves, and I also really wanted more surface area to help support the tilt axis. So I got my mate to machine some rebates into the new pulley so we could then press the bearings in from either side. This should be stronger than having the bearings mounted in plastic and has the added advantage of reducing the overall height of the rotating stage, which will help keep things as stable as possible. It does mean that I'll need a new base plate, but that was going to happen anyway because the new pulley and belt combo changes the position of the motor more than I had accounted for in the slots of the original plate. Since the entire weight of the tilt axis and camera will now be hanging from the middle of this plate, I decided it was probably a good idea to make the new plate out of aluminium instead. Parts like this are where PCBWay really come in handy. You can just upload a step file for your part along with a basic drawing to signify any holes that need to be tapped or tolerances that need to be met. Then just specify a material and any surface finishes you'd like. And that's it. It's that simple to have your own parts machined. They also do 3D printing, sheet metal fabrication, PCB manufacture and assembly, and even injection molding. PCBWay have been a sponsor of this channel since just about the beginning, so make sure you check out the link in the video description next time you need something made. Because this project started out as a behind the scenes build, I ended up just making this part myself out of a bit of 6mm aluminium plate. I also ended up 3D printing a jig and drilling some mounting holes into the 80 tooth pulley before finally bolting it onto the plate. I've got a washer under the bottom of the pulley to space it up off the plate enough that it doesn't rub. I'm going to reuse the 3D printed eccentric nuts I made for the original version, along with the V-wheels that I had spare from my old Ender 5 printer. The limit switch also screws onto this plate, and I can route its wire neatly under the 3D printed cover I made that will ensure that none of the wires for the tilt axis can get caught in the rotation axis belt. I'm not going to change the motor or idle amounts for the linear axis, as that all worked pretty well on the last one, so I just need to slip the belt through these cutouts, zip tie them in place, and then I can adjust the tension back up by sliding the motor out in its slots. I made a short set of legs for the original version that bolt in between the motor mount and the extrusion. They will be a bit short to use for the new version of the slider, but I currently only really use it on a tripod anyway, so I'll leave them as is for now. Now, it's time for the tilt axis. I just laser cut a bit of 1.2mm steel and folded it up to make this part. I did get the tabs filled up with a bit of brazing to keep everything in place, but I didn't get any footage of it. I've also 3D printed this top section doubler, which will help brace the top of the bracket where the pulley will bolt in, and it also helps hide the fact that the steel sides don't go all the way around the top. I had the pulley modified for this axis too, so it's exactly the same as the rotation axis. With all of that done, there's really only one thing left to work out, and that is how to attach the camera. A lot of the commercial sliders I've seen have a little tray that comes out from this pulley that the camera sits on. Since I'm using a cage with my camera, it actually has mounting points on the side, so instead of making an entire platform, I just made a 3D printed quick release that can attach right to the side of the camera cage. I've copied the design of the K&F quick release clamp I already had, and I've adapted it so it could just bolt straight onto the pulley. I did have to make a longer version of the quick release plate for the side of the camera so I can get the camera roughly balanced. That way the tilt axis motor doesn't have to fight the weight of the camera the whole time. This plate would absolutely benefit from being made out of metal, but to make it strong enough for now, I've 3D printed it in PETG on the strength setting and glued a bit of 5mm carbon rod in a hole right up the middle of it so I can try and prevent it from flexing too much. And that's it for the mechanical side of things. Now we need to talk about the electronics, and this is where the problems began. On the original version, I used a pair of A4988 stepper drivers. They were cheap and available locally, so that's why I picked them. I had a lot of trouble getting the first version of the software to move both of the motors at the same time smoothly enough, especially on short movements, and I thought it was probably because the microcontroller was struggling to produce the pulses quickly enough to drive both of the motors. I'm pretty sure I was completely wrong about that, and it was all just my lack of programming skills, but I didn't realize that until much later. So I set about trying to find motor drivers that could be controlled over a data connection and produce their own step pulses. That's when I found the Servo 42C closed loop stepper drivers. They attach to the back of the stepper motor and use a magnetic encoder to measure the shaft position to ensure the motor can't lose steps. They also supposedly support serial communication for control, so I grabbed 3 of them and got to work. I struggled for weeks with these things. One of them didn't even work out of the packet as it had a damaged capacitor when I received it. The company that makes these provides a basic schematic only, and it doesn't have component values listed, so I had to desolder the capacitor from one of the working ones to measure it so I knew what to replace it with. The next problem I had was that I couldn't get the serial communication working. The PC software they provide would communicate with the drives just fine, but none of my attempts to use an Arduino following their documentation would result in any sort of logical communication. There were also libraries out there written by other people for this controller that worked for them, but I also couldn't get them to work for me. It could just be me doing something wrong, or maybe they need more than the 3.3 volt logic that my microcontroller was able to provide, but I never managed to figure out what was wrong. From playing around in their software though, I realized that the motor speed control was just an arbitrary number between 1 and 100, which had no documentation to explain the speed in real world terms. So using it would have been a guessing game, and it didn't even go close to slow enough for proper time-lapse shots. So I decided to cut my losses and go back to step and direction-based control. I won't bore you with the details, but I spent a couple of weeks worth of my spare time completely rewriting my controller code and finally managed to get everything working. One of the 42C motor drivers also later randomly died on me during testing, so I replaced it with the original A4988 until I can get a replacement here. I do like how smooth and quiet the 42C drivers are, but with all of the problems I've had with them, I really can't recommend that anyone should actually use them, as there are plenty of other quiet stepper drivers out there that are probably cheaper and more reliable. Because of the machining and fabrication work required, this slider design probably only makes sense for me, but the code runs on an ESP32 microcontroller and is compatible with any of the 2-wire stepper motor controllers, so I'm happy to upload it if there's a demand for it. Anyway, let me show you how it works. The controller is Wi-Fi based, so there's no extra hardware required. The GUI is split up into 4 sections. The first section is the motor controls. These buttons jog the motors so you can move the camera into the positions you require. The linear axis has a homing switch and has limits set, so you can't crash the carriage into the ends, but the other 2 axes just call their starting point 0 and will allow you to move them as far as you want, so make sure you're careful not to rip out any cables. The next section of the GUI is for the keyframes. For anyone familiar with video editing software, this is a word that they all use. The definition of this word, according to Wikipedia, is a drawing or shot that defines the starting and ending points of a smooth transition. For us, they will be the start and end points of our movements. You can set most of the keyframes in whatever order you'd like, but you have to set the first one first, as the program uses it as a starting point. The boxes for time and delay are recorded when you set any of the remaining keyframes, and they both do exactly what they sound like. Delay is applied before the move, and time is how long you want the move to take. There are 5 keyframes in total, and the program will run through them from 1 to 5, regardless of what order you set them in. Any movements that take 60 seconds or longer will not apply any acceleration, as I've found it's not really needed at that speed, and it will increase the accuracy of the movements. The third section of the GUI is the controls. The Go to Start button will take you back to the first keyframe, and it must be pressed to ensure the slider is in the correct position before the sequence can begin. Begin starts the sequence. And finally, the next key and the last key buttons jump the slider through the set key positions. These can be handy when you want to go back to the same positions and reset time or delay for a key without changing the position. The final section of the GUI is just a terminal output, so you have some feedback about what's actually happening. The slow time-lapse movements can result in an extremely slow motor movement, so this will just give you some visual indication that the process has in fact begun, so you aren't left guessing if the button press actually went through. And that's it. Now I can get nice, repeatable program movements for my camera for my future videos. Let me know what you think in the comments, and feel free to let me know if you want a copy of the software or even the design files for the slider. It's definitely not the most DIY friendly way to build a 3-axis camera slider, but if you have the tools to build one, who am I to stop you? Thanks for watching guys, and sorry it took such a long time. I can now finally get started on my big project for the year, so the next video might take a little while too, but it's going to be worth the wait. See you next time.